The only thing that you need to know that's really important is that Navy Roberts is not in that photograph. And the first line of the People magazine piece drives me nuts. Joe Biden might be president of the United States, but to his grandchildren, he's just pop. Biden has 7 grandchildren. They just say it they just say it. What they don't say is we don't have a photograph of the 7th child. We are leaving out the 7th child because the 7th child has not really been acknowledged properly. Hello, my name is Anne McElhinney.
And I'm Phelan McAleer.
And welcome to the Anne and Phelan Scoop, coming to you from Ireland. We were off.
It's Ireland out there.
It is Ireland out there. As you know, we were off last week. We were entertaining our godchild. We had a fabulous week.
What did we do, Anne?
Some of the highlights of what we did with our godchild. Some people might think that this is a little too cultural maybe for a young person. But anyway, we started by going to see an extraordinary performance of Riders to the Sea, which is a traditional Irish play by John Millington Synge. Really quite powerful. But as you'll notice in these clips, very odd location for it, on a beach, inclement weather.
So Riders to the Sea is set in a remote Aran island, an island west of Ireland, remote, barren, terrible, stormy, and
terrible things happen.
Terrible thing happened. So they decided to put it on. The company decided to put it on a kind of an inlet beach in County Sligo, Ireland, where you park the car, walk a mile, and then you walk a mile across a floodplain where the tide has gone out. So you had to bring Wellington. Some people didn't. We didn't.
The child, by the way, that we were entertaining had just got off a plane from crossing over the Atlantic. Yes. That was followed. The following night we decided, because we hadn't done enough culture, that we would go and watch Midsummer's Night's Dream in what used to be a bishop's palace that has now been taken over by a fabulous man in Balladreen, County Roscommon, the town that my mother's from. Extraordinary and actually amazing performance, and I have to say the godchild actually did think it was fabulous. We sat on bales of hay, you can see me there. But anyway,
the thing about the godchild is she is studying Shakespeare plays.
Yes, well, she's in high school. Everyone in high school studies.
Although apparently in UCLA now you can do a whole degree in English without studying Shakespeare.
And then we went to see Slieve League, which is in Donegal, which are the highest cliffs in Europe. Really gorgeous. Here's some beautiful photographs of the beautiful scenery. And I have to say, in fairness, Ireland is actually really gorgeous.
In the good weather.
One of these days we will do, and we mentioned it I know before in the podcast, we will bring a group and come and do a tour of Ireland, because I know people have asked about that. The other thing that we did with the godchild was bring her to a whale watching situation. So
which is highly unusual. There's 2 humpback whales have appeared off the northwest coast of Ireland, and people are now going out to watch them. It's very unusual.
And they turned up.
We don't get many whales around these parts.
Yes, and we also brought the child sea swimming. So sea swimming has become a big deal in Ireland. People are swimming in the ocean all year round. Now, I'm not sure about me doing that, but certainly we'll be getting in every day. So there's kind of a few pictures of that. Just amazing. And then we also had a bread making demonstration, along with a lot of other things that we did. The bread making demonstration I will come to at the end, because it's a really great recipe. But on the show today...
What's on the show? What's on our actual show today? Donald Trump and the conspiracy that wasn't. And we look at Hunter Biden and the mysterious prosecutor that isn't. And we also look at how our movie, My Son Hunter, is actually a documentary. And how it's just, well, it was always based on true facts anyway. But now it's just...
every day now it's becoming more and more...
Well, the mainstream media are sort of saying, oh, that funny thing happened. And we're going, yeah, you could have seen it in our movie. And we look at how our ethics complaint against Hunter Biden's lawyer is progressing.
And the latest Obama revelations, finally we are getting some serious research into Obama's life before and after he was president. Incredible, we've had to wait this long.
Yes.
And when you believe in nothing except climate change, you are going to worship water and not be able to fight fires. How climate doomism is killing people.
Yes.
And in Ireland, we love this one, because the Irish
story.
Times, basically the New York Times of Ireland, has a problem page, and we have been fascinated while we've been here in Ireland reading the problem pages. But this one really got to us. If if you're 16 and think that maybe there might be an immigration problem in Ireland where we are unable to house our own people.
Yes. There's a housing crisis. Crisis. One headline tells us there's a housing crisis in the Irish Times, and then the other one says that if you're 16 and you think that the immigration issue may be contributing to that housing crime, housing crisis, then your parents
will think that you actually have mental illness.
And the Irish Times will encourage you to medicalise your children for that.
But let's start with Donald Trump, Philip.
Yes, well,
what did he do this
indictment
time?
number 4. Did we? Well, I don't think we've discussed indictment number 4. Look, the last Alan Film Scoop, which I encourage you to watch, we had a wonderful journalist on them, and it just, I think, they're almost farcical, these indictments. They bear no relationship to the law, but this one caught my eye. One of the indictments, the latest, the Georgia one, said that is using Trump's tweets as part of a conspiracy. Saying this, he's furthering his conspiracy by tweeting in public. Quite a conspiracy, actually.
What did he tweet, Phelan?
Well, but I actually think even the fact that they're saying public tweets are part of a conspiracy. I thought conspiracies were supposed to be
in hidden rooms and
hidden
stuff,
rooms,
hidden
or
handshakes.
with secret phone calls and all that. So anyway, the one of the tweets, the indictment cites 12 of Trump's tweets as overt acts in furtherance of a conspiracy. Some of the tweets were sent by Trump on January 6th, with other posts encouraged people to watch public hearings about allegations of voting irregularities. And here's one. On or about on the 3rd day of December 2020, Donald John Trump caused to be tweeted from the Twitter account of Real Donald Trump. Georgia hearings now on One American News Network. Amazing! ! And then the indictment says, this was an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. Was it the exclamation point that was the overt act? It goes on like that. That's where we're at in America in 2023, where you urge people to watch public hearings and you can get charged with conspiracy to overthrow the government. Yeah,
but we should gain an awful lot of comfort by the fact that now finally that a special prosecutor has been appointed to discover all the truths about Hunter Biden, and it's a marvelous thing because we know that the role of the special prosecutor is a very specific thing in American history, in American life. These very independent, very impartial, just dogged people in pursuit of truth who are put in there, and it's a very, very big deal. So we're in a great place now for the Hunter Biden thing, Phil, because there's a special prosecutor, Mr. Weiss, I assume.
Weiss or Weiss.
Weiss or,
we have always problems pronouncing these names. But
what's the problem? Is there a problem with the special prosecutor?
Well, see, the first thing, a special prosecutor is actually supposed to be independent. The special prosecutor is actually supposed to be almost, in fact, often, from a kind of an opposing party of government, like almost. Ken Starr, Bill Clinton, right? Robert Mueller, Donald Trump. So don't forget, Weiss or Weiss was the prosecutor who set up the sweetheart deal for Hunter Biden.
The judge had to throw out because she never came across the like.
They were trying to sneak in lifelong immunity for him, and these were crap charges of tax evasion and lying on a gun form, as opposed to bribery with China, bribery with Ukraine, corruption. But of course, they don't want to go down that road because that brings in Joe Biden and the Biden crime family.
And the young Joe Biden who wants to go run for president again, you see, sure, there's a lot of life in the old dog yet.
Yes.
Or something.
So, yes, and then Kevin Morris.
Our old friend Kevin Morris. You will remember, by the way, Kevin Morris is the guy who turned up in a private jet to Serbia when we were shooting the movie. Claimed to be making a documentary, all very impartial, didn't tell us he had a relationship with Hunter Biden at all. Yeah. Really pushed the fact that he was the guy who had put together all the massive, extremely successful legal agreements for the South Park guys and made the South Park guys gazillionaires by doing that. So, very plausible. He had a very plausible CV in a way, a very plausible resume. But it turns out, subsequently, that he lied to us, significantly lied to us, that he was in fact Hunter Biden's lawyer, and that he was there spying on our set.
Yes.
So, Phelim, you did what anyone in their right mind should do, and made an ethics complaint, because apparently, and it's an interesting one, you're not allowed to do this as a lawyer. You're allowed to do a lot of stuff as a lawyer, but you're not allowed to misrepresent who you're representing. And the point is, you're not allowed to represent it by commission or omission. Right? And that's the important point. Gotcha.
You see, and also, because he was a lawyer, I didn't treat him with the same scrutiny as say, a journalist that would come on the set.
Because you knew that he had certain ethical requirements.
You're not allowed to lie as a lawyer. You're not allowed to say, I'm here doing something when you're actually secretly representing your client. I mean, that's not allowed. So according to the rules, you're not allowed to lie by omission or commission. So I wrote to the ethics board, and and it was about 100 years ago I wrote to them. Another slow walking investigation. And now the New York Post broke the story, Dana Kennedy, but I've known, obviously I've known him for a while. So their headline is, Hunter Biden's sugar brother Kevin Morris could be prosecuted for lies. Quote, mutually destructive spiral. Actually, New York Post wrote about it, and they basically have revealed that the ethics complaint has gone on to the next stage. So we initially had reported that we'd made the complaint, they'd acknowledged the complaint and accepted, and we're going to investigate. They've done the preliminary investigation and found that Kevin Morris has a case to answer, and they sent me something like 13 questions to answer. They wanted me for an interview. We decided it was better if I answered them by email. I'm available for follow-ups. So the as they say about Trump, the walls are closing in on Mr. Morris. I doubt it. I mean, I think I'm quoted here saying, actually one critic called the relationship between Morris and Hunter Biden a mutually destructive spiral. I think that's me, actually. But anyway, it is a mutually, because I spent 10, 15 hours. I don't know. I mean, I spent days with Kevin Morris, and he interviewed me, I think, for probably 6 hours in total. And in it, he freely admitted to being a former addict. Right?
Yes.
And I just thought, well, maybe that's good for Hunter Biden, to have a former addict, helping him. But then these pictures emerged a couple of weeks ago of Kevin Morris on the balcony of his Malibu house where he lives next door to Hunter Biden, smoking a bong. Right? And this is the important thing was Hunter Biden went into the house, and then a few minutes later, Kevin Morris emerges to smoke a bong.
Yes.
Not great to be around a recovering addict. So the New York Post thinks Morris could be in trouble. I'm still skeptical that the California Bar Association will do anything of any significance. These are the same people. I think Tom Girardi, who was played by Sizemore, was it in Erin Brockovich. He played the boss lawyer in Erin Brockovich, which starred Julia Roberts. Sizemore, I think, had faced 140 ethics complaints to the bar, and all of them were just passed over and sort of.
Sizemore was the.
Sizemore.
No, Sizemore's the actor.
Girardi,
yeah.
And because Girardi was whining and dining all the top judges and lawyers and all the members. He was literally, at one stage, he held a party for the California Bar Association whilst they were investigating him. Nice. Now, they've all admitted, yes, we got it terribly wrong. So Girardi is now, has turned out he took money from literally widows and orphans, like people who, Ethiopian widow and orphans who died in the Boeing plane crash in Ethiopia.
Horrible.
They sued Boeing. The money came to him. He kept it and didn't pass it on. And he's been doing this for 30 or 40 years. And people will say, "Where's my money?" And he won't give it to them. And then they do a settlement. And he was just living the high life on other people's money. So they've now said, "Oh, we got it terribly wrong. We're going to take our obligations very seriously." I doubt it, but we will keep you fully informed about
as the case progresses.
Mr. Kevin,
or doesn't.
Kevin, as they call him, Kevin Patrick Morris,
Fellow
Irishman. How dare he do a twist? No, indeed. So we thought we'd also remind people. So we were, as we say, in Serbia making the My Son Hunter movie, and we thought the more the movie is out there, the more is revealed. It's, we always said it was based on true facts. It was, and the more it appeared, it's like a documentary. It's actually a documentary.
And we were always saying to people, it's not a documentary, it's a movie with actors. But as time goes on, as Philip says, this thing it really is becoming a documentary, a docudrama. So we thought what we'd do is we'd watch a couple of little scenes together from the movie and just talk about them, and to remind people, of course, that the movie is available for free. Please, we will put the links up to where you can watch the whole movie, and please do watch it and share it with other people.
My Son Hunter mysonofthemovie.com. You can go there. mysonofthemovie.com.
So let's look at this first scene. Do we need to set this up, or will we just watch it and then talk about it, Phelim?
Well, let's watch the scene.
Actually, it's 2 laptops.
2. I wish I could help you, son. I just wish I could smack some sense into you. You were with a woman? Another stripper?
No, a friend.
No. Just make sure you don't get your friend pregnant like the last stripper. Has the judge ruled on maternity?
Next month.
Have you tried to pay the woman up?
No, I'm just trying to run her into the ground with legal expenses, but she won't give up.
Just make sure you never admit to it.
Yeah.
Just remember, family comes first. Over everything.
Dad, I'm so sorry.
I don't want to hear another sorry, okay? You're all out of sorries. Look, you're my son. You're an addict. So you lie. Compulsively, I get it. And I've been patient with you. But I'm going to ask you a question now, Hunt. And I need you to tell me the God's honest truth. No lies. I don't care how bad it is, but I need you to tell me the truth. All right? Because if you don't tell me the truth, I can't fix it. And everything will be lost. Everything. Including my patience with you. Do you understand me, son?
Yes, sir.
Your word is abide.
My word is abide.
I want to know everything that's on that laptop that can ruin my erection. Every single detail. No need to be diplomatic now, son. Just give it to me straight.
I have a lot of selfies. Naked selfies.
Narcissistic. Not scandalous. What else?
Some intimate video with my girlfriend.
Girlfriends.
There were some parties. Some of them are hookers.
That's already in the GOP Senate report. It's only a footnote. Nobody reads footnotes.
So a lot of people comment on this scene as it being one of their favourite in the whole movie.
Yes.
I mean, it's obviously very funny and, you know, all of that. But it's interesting, it's become more newsworthy of late because the reference, as you know, during that conversation, the reference to the stripper and the fact that there was this paternity litigation and all of that. But it's interesting, you know, obviously you all know because you're all very informed, but obviously, you know, 4 years on, so the child referred to, Navy Roberts, is 4 years old, and finally, Joe Biden has just kind of, I don't think in a very gracious or generous or courageous way, is beginning to acknowledge the existence of this, the mere existence.
Don't forget, this is the man who didn't invite this grandchild to the inauguration. Every other grandchild was there. This is the man on Christmas had 6 stockings on the White House mantelpiece, not 7.
But you know, it's very funny though how the media continue to protect Biden. Like,
Yes.
so People magazine have literally just the other day have done another puff piece where they have this photograph. You see the photograph there. That photograph, all you need to know about that photograph is that there's a bunch of grandchildren there. There's a bunch of children there with Joe Biden, etc. The only thing that you need to know that's really important is that Navy Roberts is not in that photograph. And the first line of the People magazine piece drives me nuts. Joe Biden might be president of the United States, but to his grandchildren, he's just pop. Biden has 7 grandchildren. They just say it they just say it. What they don't say is we don't have a photograph of the 7th child. We are leaving out the 7th child because the 7th child has not really been acknowledged properly. And they go on to describe who they are. But the quote then, further on in the piece, and this is how bad journalism is. This is how awful these people are. Here's, it's no secret that Biden and his grandchildren are close. Shut up, you're a liar. Yeah. You're a liar, People magazine. And here's the quote. They're crazy about me, and I'm crazy about them, the president said on an episode of the Smartless podcast in 2022. Here's another quote. Every single day, I contact every one of my grandchildren. Joe Biden, you are a liar. You were lying when you said that. This is not like any kind of kind of exaggeration. This is a liar. This is a liar in chief to say that. And it's not. This is not political. It tells you everything you need to know about the man. What a horrible thing.
After securing 270 electoral votes in the 2020 election, he embraced his grandkids in a celebratory hug. Everyone was crying.
We just embraced each other. I think we'll always remember that moment. 2 months later, they joined the Pop. They joined Pop on the Capitol's building steps to watch him become the 46th president. They didn't. People magazine. They didn't join him. They didn't join him.
Can I just say something about the shooting of that scene, actually? Because it's, you can just go on.
Going back, I do go on a rant about Navy Roberts.
No, but you're right, and he's been shamed into acknowledging.
Well, I think what's happening now is that he's running for president again. It looks very, very clear that the nominee on the Republican side will be Donald J. Trump, who will take no time at all.
I think he'll hardly mention it.
And in fact, as we said, by the way, and of course, I would love to see that. I would love to see a debate, a final debate on stage where Navy Roberts and her mother would sit in the front row. London Roberts would sit in the front row, because and be invited by Donald J. Trump to the debate, because that's not what's going to has not happened so far. And this is a terrible thing to ghost a child, to ghost a 4-year-old. Just a horrible, just extraordinary.
So that scene in the car, though, it was the nightmare scene that haunted
John James.
Well, haunted the shoot. Everyone was worried about it. Everyone was stressed.
Because it was a really long
10
piece.
10 pages.
And they're in a car, and it's at night time.
They're going to be filming 10 pages in one night. And that's, for anyone who knows, one day, went into the night, anyone who knows shooting, that is just ridiculous. You film 1 page a day, 2 pages a day, maximum 3. 10 is just, it's intolerable, inhuman. And they were very stressed, and you could see it in the actors. And I won't go into the stories, but some actors were just going, "I just need to get drunk before." Like, I'm joking, but there was a lot of stress and very worried, and people were very, very worried. They were out of the shoot. The shoot started at 9 p.m. They left at 1 or 2 p.m. They were
AM, 1 or 2 a.m. But honestly, it's as I said, most people who see the film, there's a kind of a unanimity about the fact that people just love that scene. It's very funny. I think my criticism of watching it again today is that I actually think, given what we're seeing now on the television every day, is that Joe Biden is too lucid in that.
We know why we did that. Biden was a bit more lucid back then. He was, to be fair.
Right.
But also, it's not funny making fun of someone with Alzheimer's or dementia. And by the way, Biden may not be the most lucid, but he is the most dangerous person. And a man who's not got his marbles isn't very dangerous, but a man who understands power and how to use it and how to destroy his enemies is dangerous.
Well, it's funny, when people, I hear what you're saying, Phelan, but actually, it's interesting. I don't think, I actually genuinely don't think he's got Alzheimer's. I just think he's an old man. And I'll tell you why I say that, because when he's questioned, which is extremely rare anyway, by the way, but when he is questioned about Hunter Biden and about these revelations that are coming out day by day by day, he instantly turns extremely vicious and looks really, really menacing and frightening. Let's we'll put up a couple of photographs there of what he looks like when he's questioned this way. He suddenly turns.
Do you remember that person years ago?
Extremely aggressive.
Remember that person years ago we met?
Go on.
That really nice guy down in Florida. And he
yes.
said
yes.
to you,
I've mentioned this on the podcast before.
I've done a lot of research and I know Joe Biden really well.
Well, he said he'd been in a room with him one time because of a business thing.
And he said he's evil.
Yeah, he said it was evil. And I remember thinking at the time, a little bit exaggerated there.
Yeah.
But as time has gone on, and it's certainly there's and I actually now I've revisited that conversation we had with that man who was he was involved with the Department of, what do they call it, the Commerce Department or whatever, and that's how he had ended up in a room with Joe Biden, and he said he was really shocked, and this man was quite a religious person.
So let's go on to the next. Let's go on to the next one.
Okay. Oh yes. So this is an interesting scene.
This is Humanizing Hunter. Let's play the scene.
Doesn't matter what you've done.
I didn't do anything wrong. It's my privacy that's being violated. Ever happened to you?
Sometimes. Pictures.
Your family find out your mom, your dad?
I don't give a shit about my dad.
Oh. That's sad. I love my dad. You got any brothers and sisters?
I wish I did, but no. You?
My sister and my mommy died in a car accident when I was little.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. I just remember this hand in the hospital. It was my brother's hand. He was 4 years old. He was holding my hand. He was just going, I love you. I love you. I love you. And then it was just me, Bo, and Dad against everything, against the world.
Is it hard growing up without your mom?
Well, I didn't get a choice. Dad remarried. She's my mom, not my mommy.
Yeah.
And then every year after the crash, we go to this tiny little house in Nantucket, Sconset Beach, just the family, immediate family, nobody else. And it's the only time I feel like, it's the only time I feel like not throwing myself off a cliff. It's not the same though since my brother died.
When did he die?
4 years ago, brain tumor.
I'm so sorry. It's horrible.
So that's a scene where
I think that's, by the way, first thing to say is I think that Robert Davi did a beautiful job here.
Yes.
I think it's very affecting. It's very upsetting. Extraordinary that this would have happened to anybody.
Yeah.
To lose that many people. I mean, they're not a big family. They weren't a big family, and for the mother, the sister, and then the brother to die,
Yes.
it's a lot.
Yes. And look, we didn't want to have Hunter Biden as the villain, as it was twirling a moustache and always being evil, because how do you understand how corruption happens when the people are evil? Evil people are corrupt, but if they're human and they're corrupt,
it's much worse.
It's understandable, and by the way, it also allows them to redeem themselves. Hunter Biden has had many chances to redeem himself. Has had many chances. He's chosen not to, and part of the reason is because he's never had to suffer any consequences for his actions.
Yeah, and remember we read the book that he wrote. So he wrote a confessional autobiography and called Beautiful Things, and in it, like, there's one scene in it that's extraordinary where he was quite high, and on his own admission he'd taken a whole load of whatever, I can't even remember, and he was driving in the Inland Empire at a huge speed, like 100 miles an hour, whatever, more than that possibly, and the car left the road, twirled around a few times and came down like on its roof or whatever, or came down maybe on its wheels, and he kept on driving or something, and I think he was caught. But he was let off. Yeah. Somebody talked to somebody, whatever, and it's like, and he got away with it. He could have killed somebody. Yes. Like, he could have so easily killed somebody. And it was just one of those. And so many of those stories happened where he just always got away with stuff.
That's it. Let's play the next one then from our movie, My Son Hunter, which you can watch at mysonhuntermovie.com. Let's go there now. It's for free. mysonhuntermovie.com. Let's watch this now.
Devin got caught for securities fraud. Zlochevsky got charged for money laundering. And Dolorevsky got caught for embezzling the $1.8 billion. And Hunter worked with all of them at Burisma. Then the Ukrainian Justice Department was going to investigate Burisma until guess who intervened?
Don't worry, Dad. You have plausible deniability for most things except the video.
What video?
The one when you said you'd get rid of the prosecutor who was investigating me.
Malarkey. That's a bologna sandwich.
I'm not going to her. We're not going to give you the $1 billion.
I looked at them and I said, I'm leaving here in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Son of a bitch. He got fired.
That's the angle, that's the way how we play. I don't care on my shit. I be smoking up a J. I'ma blow a couple O's, then I'm cutting off my hose. That's the angle, that's the way, that's how we play.
Quid pro quo with Ukraine. Brilliant strategy. Then accused Trump of making a phone call doing the exact same thing they were doing.
That is based on a verbatim from a press conference, or not a press conference, an event that Joe Biden attended. We play the actual... And we play
that actual clip at the end during the credits in the movie. So if you want to see the actual clip,
can I just say, one of the things we were very important, that scene was supposed to be filmed one day when I came in. Unfortunately, there'd been a miscommunication, and the actual scene didn't look anything like the actual...
The set didn't look representative.
The set didn't look representative of what it should have done. I wanted it to look exactly... I'm not the director, but in terms of fact-checking and media, I wanted it so... we made sure everyone had the same colour ties, the chairs looked similar, the tables looked similar, the background looked similar, just so that we could say, this is... real, this happened. And you had basically a vice president of the United States admitting he held back $1 billion to stop a prosecutor investigating a company where his son was a very overpaid director. His son got towards the $3 million or $5 million from that company.
I don't know what the total amount was, but he got $83,000 a month for 5 years. So those of you who are good at the math can do that very quickly.
Plus expenses, I'm sure.
Plus expenses. And, $83,000 a month, people don't earn that in a year. Loads of people don't earn that in a year. And the idea that he was earning that money at a time when, again, to reference the book that we talked about earlier, that he, on his own admission, smoked crack cocaine every 20 minutes. And
it helped him be a better director.
And at periods, he said he didn't sleep for like 3 or 4 days, and he was living at the Chateau Marmont. And you're meant to believe that this energy company, who were doing a real thing and creating energy and doing all kinds of mathematics and physics and clever things, the idea that they needed this guy to be on their board, that this guy was bringing some kind of value. And of course, the truth is he was bringing some kind of value, but it was nothing to do with his intellectual ability. Yeah. It was more to do with who he was related to. And it's really just corruption. It's funny, after our movie came out, and I say this to people, I'm really proud of this. I think this is a very good indicator of the effect of the movie. A month after our movie came out, so the movie came out in September, 1 month later, the liberal icon and comic, Jon Stewart, famously was on a podcast, asked about whatever was going on in the world, and he said this Hunter Biden thing with Burisma is corruption straight up. It's straight up corruption, said Jon Stewart. You know, and I think the timing isn't coincidental, because one of the things that our movie did achieve was, actually, let's put those headlines up. Actually, it's quite extraordinary. Yes. Rolling Stone magazine, you know, wrote unbelievable amounts about it, and
the Guardian,
New Yorker magazine, the Washington
Newsweek.
Post, Newsweek over and over and over again, the Daily Mail over and over again, the Daily Beast, and loads of the most popular liberal podcasts continuously. And actually, I wanted to mention that because in one of the clips there we just had, they have that fact check thing comes up, and one of the things we think is just amusing. Another amusing aspect of what happened with our movie was all these of course all the liberals said it was the worst movie they'd ever seen. We don't care, because we forced them to talk about the laptop over and over and over again. And here's what they didn't do. Not in one article. And I would say it's fair to say, Phelim, 30, 50, 60, 70,000 words written about our movie. Not one word where they said that they got the fact checkers in. Yes. No one had the fact checkers. You know what, the fact checkers, by the way, this is a perfect place for the fact checkers. Yes. We would welcome the fact checkers. The fact checkers suddenly went quiet. There were no fact checkers, and no one disputed the reality and of the laptop and what the laptop meant and who owned the laptop and what was on the laptop. Not a word about that. Not a dicky bird. Very quiet. Very, very quiet fact checkers.
So, well, I don't want to spend too much time on Obama because I don't want to spend too much time on Obama.
Well, we're moving on to our next topic, which is this extraordinary article in the Tablet magazine.
Yeah, but it's kind of bubbled up. This book, a book about Obama, came out 6 years ago. And it kind of went under the radar. You know, the first point to make is the Obamas never broke all precedent by not leaving DC after they stopped being president. No president has ever done that except for
one. I was going to just mention that instead they brought a large. This is all from the Tablet magazine. Large brick mansion in the center of Washington's Kalorama neighborhood, violating a norm governing the transfer of presidential power, which has been breached only once in post-Civil War American history by Woodrow Wilson, who couldn't physically be moved after suffering a series of debilitating strokes.
Yes.
So this was a huge breach of the norms. And by the way, and again, the liberal media made nothing of it.
So Obama's first serious girlfriend was a woman called Sheila Miyoshi Yeager. And he said the fight ended when he became aware...
the relationship ended.
Oh, sorry, the relationship ended when he became aware of his black identity and she couldn't accept it. Turns out...
That's not exactly what happened.
That's not exactly true. This guy went back and interviewed this girlfriend. And basically, it was about a black exhibition by someone who supported the Nation of Islam, who was an anti-Semite, and she wanted him to condemn, your black identity, but you must condemn anti-Semitism, even if it comes from black people. He refused. That's what they split up about. So
he refused to criticize racism among black people. He wouldn't criticize black racism, basically.
Yes. Black anti-Semitism, and I think that's interesting too. Because it says, a lot of the anti-Semitism that's around at the moment is coming from the black community. That's just a fact, which is not talked about a lot. You see all this increase in the number of attacks on Orthodox Jews in New York, and you see the footage, and it's black people, and this is not talked about. I don't know why it is. By the way, I have no idea why.
Black people are anti-Semitic?
I have no idea.
Some black people are anti-Semitic?
I'd love someone to explain it to me, because it's kind of a weird thing. But anyway, I like because we're journalists, we like the other bit that's mentioned in this. And this is perhaps the most revealing thing about Yeager's account of her fight with Obama is that not one reporter in America bothered to interview her before David Garrow wrote this book
6 years ago,
towards the end of Obama's presidency. As Obama's live-in girlfriend and closest friend during the 1980s, Yeager is probably the single and most informed, credible source about her inner life.
And what's interesting is apparently that Obama mentioned her quite often. Like he had mentioned her. It wasn't like she was some kind of secret. So he was giving hints, by the way, almost to the media that there's this person who knows me better, like major serious girlfriend. And the idea that not one journalist, one of these incredible journalists, here's how the tablet says describe it. The idea that the celebrated journalists who wrote popular biographies of Obama and became enthusiastic members of his personal claque couldn't locate Yeager or never knew who she was defies belief. In other words, you know, we don't believe it. You didn't want to interview her. You don't want to find out anything negative about him. The last thing you want to do is interview somebody who really does know him very well. But this one man, this one fantastic guy who wrote this book did track her down.
And her letter, the letter from him to her about him, I mean, this is almost defies belief, about him having sex with men in his imagination every day or something. You know, I think he was talking about admiring men. A very funny and strange use of the English language. So we'll just move on from that. I mean,
yes. What can you do? What can you do? But very interesting.
Yes.
So Hawaii, and obviously everyone's talking about Hawaii, but there's some kind of interesting disturbing details that are coming to light now.
Well, Biden's going to, by the time this comes out, we're just recording this as Biden is arriving. And by the way, first of all, he went on 2 vacations after the thing, and he was asked about the victims of the Maui thing.
And wouldn't.
No comment.
No comment.
No comment. And it's like, George Bush didn't visit Katrina for 2 weeks. It ruined his presidency. You know, it became this big thing. The media are not making any. He sat on 2 beaches while perhaps 500 to 1,000 Americans are dead. I mean, burned alive. The media are shameless. They're not your friends. They're your enemies. So, but it turns out that water was not diverted to firefighters in time to fight the fire. And the person who didn't divert it was someone called
Callow Manuel. This is a guy who studied Hawaiian studies, right? And then was, of course, in charge of safety and water on this Hawaiian island. And he has said, and this is my motto has always been, let water connect us, not divide us. He says
it should be something to be revered rather than just used. Revered rather than just used.
Rather than just used.
We can share it, but it requires true conversations about equity.
Water requires true conversations about equity. So
people die.
While people so busy talking about equity, meanwhile people are dying, and the water was not deployed in a timely manner. And that seems to be very clear. Now, obviously, a lot of information is going to still come out, but this certainly is coming out already. That story was covered by Newsweek, I think.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, it's been covered by, but it's disgusting. It's disgusting. That's what happens when you have woke water worshippers, climate doomists, in charge of safety. They lose hope. They worship water. They don't see it as a resource to be used. And people die. So, talking of nothing. This is just madness.
Talking of madness.
So Trish Murphy is the problem page person in the Irish Times. We talked the Irish Times before, and it's the Irish Times and the New York Times of Ireland. And this is.
And she has a column called "Tell Me About It."
Yeah, because
where you write and you tell her the problem that's come up with you.
Okay.
And the title of this one is,
I'm worried about my 16-year-old son and his abhorrent right-wing views. Right.
And then it goes on to say, we are horrified with some of the things he has said about refugees.
So will you read? I'll read the problem, or will you read the problem?
Well, I think actually the thing that I think we could read the problem. We can read the whole problem, but I actually think the thing that's interesting is she doesn't quote him.
Yes.
I think that's the unfair bit, right?
Yes.
So basically, there's a long thing. I'm really worried about my son. He's got these horrible ideas.
We have never had any concerns with him except for some issues in primary school. He's a middle child, happy family life. Last year during a parent-teacher meeting, my husband and I were informed that 1 or 2 teachers had noticed that our son was unfriendly towards boys in the school who identified as gay, bisexual or trans. They said they had never heard him say anything homophobic or transphobic. Right?
So the teachers are saying that.
Yes.
They've never heard him say anything that, but he wasn't friends. He wasn't friends with people who identified as gay, bisexual or trans.
Part of this. This is you bullying.
Can I make a suggestion, Phelan? Because I'm really smart about these things, and I could do a problem page myself. I would suggest that the reason he didn't friend up with those people is that he didn't want anyone to think that he was gay himself, because he's not gay, and maybe he was looking at girls and wanting the girls to be very clear about his interests in life.
Well, I mean, also is this whole thing with the gays and the trans people and that there. It's be kind to us or else.
Yeah.
So it's not like you have to treat them equally. You have to revere them. And maybe he didn't revere them. Maybe he didn't put them on a pedestal, you know.
Anyway, that's
because he didn't want to see up their skirts.
That's kind of an aside, by the way, because that's kind of mentioned first. I think that's mentioned as a kind of a setup to tell you, you know, to warn you, to trigger you.
Well, there's a bit here. You know, his father was keen for us not to make a fuss about it, but I spent a lot of time talking with him about bullying and the importance of inclusivity. This is what I like. She understands the importance of inclusivity, and now. However, during the summer holidays, just when we're having some family time together, he just started debating with myself. Debating. Oh, imagine
God, the horror at 16.
About the rights of immigrants and refugees to be in this country. We were horrified by some of the things he said, but don't say what he said.
Yeah, well, and by the way, can we just hear what he said? Like, I'd love to hear what he had to say, this young fella. But anyway, I saw that he'd been looking at a lot of right-wing material and has been posting abhorrent comments on social media.
For example, which one?
For example, we're not going to hear them. I really do not know where this attitude has come from, and he has certainly never heard anything like that from us at home.
I like this next paragraph.
We do everything we possibly can to raise our children to be as rounded as they can possibly be. We're also hopeful that they will be free thinkers. Oh, free thinkers. Isn't that great? Except for anything that might be considered conservative. But
anything we disagree with.
But I do not know if we can tolerate this I don't think we can tolerate this mindset and the risk that it poses to other children.
So they want the children to be as rounded as possible and free thinkers, but they can't tolerate his mindset.
We can't tolerate ideas that are not like ours. I think that's what it is. I think there's a name for that. I think that might be called prejudice. I think that might be called lack of inclusivity.
It's called intolerance, actually.
It could be. There you go. Look at you with the words, Philip. Fantastic.
Nobody is intolerant at a tolerant person.
God, you know.
So, Trish, who's a psychotherapist, actually, you know, she teaches at Trinity College, by the way, as well.
Of course she does.
So first of all, she thinks that the reason he's not friendly, he's never said anything homophobic or transphobic, but have you or husband, that he focuses on gender and sexual orientation is also worth noting. He didn't, by the way.
No.
He just is not friendly with them. Have you or your husband had conversations about his own sexuality and gender? You know? So she's sort of suggesting
that he's homophobic or something, or
no, that he's homosexual or transphobic, right? So let's make him a girl now, right? So his school and teachers might be able to offer some insights, and they might have a list of recommended counsellors for young people, right? So let's get him into counselling right away.
I just love this bit. I love this bit because we're not going to read the whole thing.
Yes.
Part of the advice: you may have to take away his internet connections and smartphone outside of family hours. This would mean that he cannot post while alone in his room. You may also need to take action on inappropriate social media comments. He will need to take these down if he's to continue to get privileges at home. However, this should not be just a deterrent-focused approach. If possible, you should reward any good behaviour with lots of attention and approval. So if you put a big pride flag up in the house, it'll be all good, right?
Yeah.
At 16, your son's character is still in development, and he feels understood and engaged with, he may be willing to open up about what is triggering these biases. So a firm but supportive...
Can I just give a little bit of context here? Ireland has 12,000 people homeless, right, who are in emergency accommodation. You cannot rent...
not in accommodation.
Yes. You cannot rent a house in Dublin. Prices are going up 20% a year. There's a complete shortage. They're driving landlords out of the market by taxes and regulations. You cannot buy a house. House prices are going because they won't allow you to build houses, because that's the progressive way in cities now. And then Ireland decided that they would loosen the asylum laws for so-called asylum seekers. So all these Syrians and Georgians and all these and Albanians are flooding
including Georgians, by the way, which is a country that, according to the EU, is a safe country.
Yes.
But
then
we're getting refugees
when the
from
Ukrainian war broke out, rather than saying we will take our proportion, Ireland said we will allow anyone who arrives here to get £300 a week, to get free accommodation, to be able to work. Am I missing anything on? Just to get and so suddenly 85,000 people, 85,000 people
in a very small country. This country
in the middle of a housing crisis, and this has, you know, obviously the Irish Times. You're not allowed to discuss this in the Irish Times, but this is ordinary people. And what's happened is, even in the village we're in, one of the hotels has been handed over to Ukrainian refugees. And that means that all the restaurants, all the bars are suffering, that the other hotels, the prices are going through the roof because there's a shortage of hotels in Ireland. But lots of all the Ukrainians are in housing. It's just created this.
So this
massive...
boy, this 16-year-old boy, who's actually kind of engaged with these issues, which is kind of good actually, that he's actually bothering to look at the world outside of him. But I love the end of this thing, Philip, where they basically talk about, he's going to she helpfully gives him sites. That gives the family sites, Family Therapy Ireland, Psychological Society of Ireland. Your son may need to engage himself with a professional.
Yes, a psychotherapist or a psychologist. He's going to medicalise.
Your son might need professional help. That basically, he needs to see a doctor because he has ideas that the Irish Times doesn't like and that his parents don't like. It's amazing. And as I said, the most unfair thing about this nonsense is the fact that they won't even quote him.
Yeah.
There's no quote from him. And I think the reason they've no quote is because what he's saying is so frickin' reasonable.
Yes.
I bet what he's saying is so reasonable, and it's probably something like, why are we taking in all these refugees when we actually have people living on the streets here that are not getting these services? Why is it that I just heard the other day, extraordinary, I think you and I discussed this film on the radio, we heard the Irish medical system here that is under such pressure that children in need of, was it neurological services, Phelan? Was it the children that were on a waiting list for over 12 months? Wasn't that it?
Yeah.
So the people are on these incredible
Well, we also heard about a primary school in a rural town in Ireland where in the new year, a third of this class will be Pakistani.
Yeah. So and how did they? And
so that means every school in Ireland now needs an English as a second language teacher or several English, because there's Ukrainian children, there's Pakistani children, there's Georgian children, there's Albanian children, and by the way, maybe that's fine, but I think it's worth debating and discussing.
It's certainly worth debating.
It's something, by the way, very interesting. I never thought of this. That Irish Times writer, that the parent, of course, they have their house bought. They're just housing crisis is great if you own houses because the house price goes up.
Yep.
He's 16. There was actually, let's get that headline up there on the Irish Times, where I think it's a record number of 18 to 29-year-olds are living with their parents.
Oh yes, that's a pattern that's happening all over the world. There's never been. I think it's fair to say, this is probably, you can correct me, but I think it's fair to say that there's never been a larger population of grown-ups back living with their parents as there is now, and it's because there's a housing crisis, this general housing crisis. Mostly because most cities in the world, in fact, tell me one that's not, but most cities in the world are liberal, are lefty, and have adopted policies that have made it so that a young person doesn't get the opportunity to leave home and start their...
So this 16-year-old is sitting there going, I'm going to be stuck.
I'm never going to get out of this
I'm never
house.
going to be able to live independently, live on my own.
Yeah.
And it's affecting him. It doesn't matter to the parents who own the house because
they're living the dream.
They're watching their pension increase every... Anyway, let's go on to the recipe and I have some good news. Tell us the background.
Yes, we need some
to
good
this.
news. But anyway, so this recipe, what happened was, it's quite funny because, you saw, I think, from some of the photographs there that I have a swimming group that I swim with here, a bunch of fabulous ladies, and one of them had mentioned that she was on a plane and she was talking to the lady beside her, and this whole issue came up about needing gluten-free recipes for people who have, I think it's celiac disease. I think it's a celiac disease, but there's a lot of different conditions that require people to eat a gluten-free diet, which can often mean something really miserable. So anyway, this woman pipes up and says she got this fantastic recipe, and then there was a lot of chat between the women about the recipe, and then eventually it was decided that the woman would come to my house and make the recipe to show all the ladies from the swimming group, and she did, and I decided I'd film it, and I'm not showing faces of people because I said, look, I'll just show your hands, whatever. So this recipe, which is for a gluten-free fabulous bread, brown, really, really nice bread. I highly recommend this bread. It has it's very unusual. So you are going to need, I'm going to give you the ingredients first. You're going to need bread soda, full fat yogurt, 500 millilitres, treacle, which I'm going to have to look up what treacle...
Molasses, is it?
I need to look it up. I need to look up exactly what it is. But it's called black treacle here in Ireland, and it comes in a very nice tin, and our mothers all had it.
Can I just say to someone,
but I don't know what it is.
If you know what it is, put it in the notes, or put it in the comment section of the YouTube. What is treacle in America?
Black treacle. Not golden syrup, black treacle. Yeah. So, and then porridge oats, which you would call oatmeal. And because of this, you can, there's two versions of this bread. You can make it with regular porridge porridge oats, which would make it not gluten-free, or you can make it with gluten-free oats, which of course, by the way, notable, very terrible, are much more expensive. But anyway, and you need an oven, and you need a 2-pound bread tin, and you need butter for greasing the tin. So what you do is big bowl. You'll see the big bowl there. She dumps in, and you know another thing I love about this recipe. I love the fact that you need very few. It's very good from a cleaning up point of view.
I have a question. What's bread soda?
Good question. We'll move on. I have no idea what bread soda is. I suppose it's some kind of
people know what it is.
Maybe it's some kind of erasing agent. You know, people know what bread soda is. Yes, Phil. So basically, you throw your yogurt, the whole of the yogurt, into the bowl, and keep the yogurt container, and you'll see why. And I love this. Then you have the 1 tablespoon of treacle, and you see how she's doing that. Put that into your bowl. Mix that around. Mix it very, very well. Then with the empty yogurt container, fill that up with your porridge oats twice. And throw that into the bowl. And this woman did this, and that's funny, I hadn't seen this done since my own mother time. You know, I'm always using the actual spoon, but look at what this lady did, very smart. You know, very intuitive. About a spoonful of the bread soda onto the palm of your hand, and you press down on it. You see her doing that, pressing down on it to get rid of the lumps. Then throw that in, and then basically mix that all together. Mix everything up together very, very well. Grease the bread tin with the butter, and then put that mixture in. And do a thing that it's unusual in these kind of situations. Push down. Yeah, push down.
Why push down.
Yeah. I don't know, but she said to do that, and we all did it. And then you've got your oven at, I think I said 180. Yeah. It's at 180, and put it into the oven there, and put it in there for 35 minutes. So 35 minutes. After 35 minutes, take it out. Pull it. It'll come out very nicely out of your nice bread tin. Put it back in so you don't have any what they call a soggy bottom. We don't want a soggy bottom.
No,
so put it back in 10 more minutes, take it out, and the trick then is, which you'll see my final product here. The problem was all the ladies were getting hungry, and I had all the lovely toppings. We didn't allow the bread to get cold, so you'll see it's very, very crumbly in that photograph. But you need to let it get cold.
Yes.
Put it on a wire rack, let it get completely cold. Really, really, really nice. And it's such a simple recipe.
I can vouch for that.
Gorgeous. What we had with it here was fantastic smoked salmon, which lovely friends had delivered recently. So smoked salmon, but cheese with anything, with bread, with butter and jam, anything. But gorgeous. Look at the colour of it as well. See, the treacle gives it that dark colour. Yeah. So really, really nice. Anyway, we've come to the end of the show, Phil.
We have. It's a long enough show today.
It is a long enough show today with all the clips and everything like that.
Yeah.
Please keep in touch with us. Let us know. I have a little request at the end of the show. And I don't want to say too much because I don't want to give away the game, but we're looking for someone who knows how to stage a photographic exhibition. If you're that person, or you know someone who is that person, please write to us.
When you say stage,
what we mean by stage is, we would want you to rent a venue. We will want you to look at the photographs where you're want to exhibit and be artistic about that. Choose sizes, choose lighting, framing, and we would like to do this exhibition in let's just put it this way, I'm going to keep it vague enough, a major United States city. And the exhibition, if it does well, would travel around the country. And I think because you know us quite well, you can imagine the content perhaps of these photographs.
Perhaps not.
So anyway, honestly, we're actually crowdsourcing.
Write to us at office@unreportedstorysociety.com.
Or write to us at annemcilhenny@gmail.com.
Yes.
You can write at my name, annemcilhenny@gmail.com, or office@unreportedstorysociety.com. We would really like your help because you'll be happy with what you will find out that we're going to do later in the year. Okay, bye-bye for now.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.